Hey, welcome back. Listen, if it hasn't been crazy enough over this last 120 days, you got to understand that when it comes to retirement, the bottom line is it doesn't take a plan to get here. Okay, all you got to do is put money in, you dollar cost average your way in, et cetera, et cetera. But when it comes to retirement, it takes a plan to get through retirement. So you've been playing a game, and that game you've been playing is called accumulation. And the market goes up and down and up and down and up and down, and it's no big deal. And the reason why it's no big deal is because you have a paycheck. See, whether you knew it or not, the real thing that it takes when it comes to investing money is its income. It's not rate of return, it's income. And this is why it's so important to understand the secrets to safe retirement. So let's get into this. Let's talk a little bit about how that works. Now, I'm going to show you how to build a secure retirement plan and be able to take that, get guaranteed incomes that you can't outlive, minimize your taxes, and build lasting wealth so that you can live the lifestyle you become accustomed to, adjusted for taxes and inflation out beyond yours and your spouse's life expectancy, and then pass your money on in the most tax favorable way possible. Now, I'm sure you all remember this. For those of you that lived through 2000, 2001, 2002, 2008, you remember this picture. You remember what happened during those times. The market went down, down, down. Much like you remember where you were during 911. And if you think back to that moment and what that felt like at that moment, what's that going to feel like when you're having that happen to you in retirement? Because see, it was no big deal back then. All you had to do is wait. But as you come to retirement, it's going to be a very big deal. You see, the way retirement was back in our grandparents and our parents' days is it was built on this pyramid. And the way this pyramid worked is that we had a pension. This was the base of our pyramid. And then we had Social Security, and then we'd have whatever little amount of money that we saved. But the whole world's been turned on over upside down on its head. And now it's all about the amount of money we saved, our Social Security, and then for some of us, we're lucky enough to have a pension. But for those of us that are not lucky enough to have a pension, it's all about the money we saved. Because you see, in order to retire, you must have one thing, and you're not retiring without it. Do you have an idea what that is? Well, that's a paycheck. And see, without a paycheck, you're not retiring. Why do you go to work? You go to work for a paycheck. But in retirement, you're going to have what are called known incomes. Pension, if you're lucky enough to have one, Social Security, and possibly some rentals. But those are not known incomes because those can go up and down, etc. And then from there, you're going to have a need, and that's up here. And in between there, you're going to have a gap. And that gap is going to have to be filled by those assets. So the problem with that is that as you go along the way, what happens if the market crashes? Now, Ted Benna, the father of the 401k, says, I think the next one will be worse. It's a scary time in this country. We're in worse condition financially than we were pre-2008. The guy that invented this system is actually worried about how it's going to work out. Because, see, inside of retirement, you're going to have all kinds of problems. You're going to have withdrawal rates, national debt, government, income taxes, stock market, long-term care, inflation, longevity sequences, and shit just happens on a regular basis. So we're going to focus on income taxes, stock market, inflation, and longevity just in this presentation, but we can get into any one of those things about what's going on as to what's going to take place in your retirement. Now, we've helped individuals and families and business owners just like yourself across this country with retirement income planning, Social Security maximization, tax minimization planning, life insurance reviews, mortgage planning, long-term care and estate planning, and saving businesses taxes. The retirement income roadmap, which I'm going to show you today, is a 5-step process that creates an income plan focused on protecting your money from 4 retirement risk. But the first thing you have to do is you have to identify. That's the first step. You have to figure out where you are financially. Oddly enough, of all the hundreds and hundreds of people I've talked to, I have yet to meet a single person who knew where they really were financially, and you're probably not going to be the first. Because there's so many things. I said, well, I got an online calculator. I got a financial planner. I got all this stuff. Well, really, you probably don't have a financial planner. You probably have a glorified stockbroker who's probably pretty good at building this money for your future, but he's not very good at the distribution side. Now, there's implementation, protect, growth, and review. So let's get into the first step here. In order to go somewhere, the very first thing you must know is not where you're going. You must know where you are. So once you know where you are, and you can put that information in an elaborate computer system so you can figure out whether your plan's working or not, what your taxes are going to look like, whether you should be doing money into tax deferred or tax free, and what you really need to do to improve your system, such as using your personal economic model. Now, your personal economic model, once we've done this for you and done this elaborate plan, you're going to see where you're at. And if you look on this picture right here, what happens is money goes down that big tank on the left, it comes over, hits that tax filter, and then it's consumed and gone forever. Unless you bypass the tax filter by going to the qualified plan and down into that tank that we call the risk tank or the yellow tank, or you pump money up those pipes and you put it in the green tank, which is the safe tank, or the yellow tank, which is the risk tank. Then over on the side over here, you have a house, and most people have a mortgage. Now, this whole retirement thing is a lot like that junk drawer that you have in your house. It's got all kinds of great stuff inside of it. You know, it's got those sunglasses and pens and old headphones and keys and all kinds of things. And, you know, together, it just looks like a great big mess. But individually, okay, each and every one of those things are probably important to you, and that's why you keep them in your junk drawer. Well, in retirement, we've got Social Security, we've got real estate, we got savings, we got life insurance, we got 401ks, Roth IRAs, annuities, whatever it happens to be that we've put our money away. It's kind of like the junk drawer. It's all there and it all works, but who's going to put it together and put it into a system that's actually going to make sure that you are able to live that lifestyle you become accustomed to, adjusted for taxes and inflation, out beyond yours and your spouse's life expectancy. Notice I didn't say out to your life expectancy. I said beyond, because we're living longer. Now, the essentials and discretionary are two totally different things. So what do I need my retirement income to do, and what do I want my retirement income to do? They're two very different things. When I ask a person, what does it cost you to live? They always say, well, my bills are this, this, and this. That's not the question I asked. I didn't ask what were your bills. I asked was, what does it cost you to live? And live is everything. It's your rent, your mortgage, your taxes, your HOA fee, your health insurance, the beauty shop, traveling, gifts. It's everything that you spend during the year. And most people can't answer that question. So once we've identified that, once we've figured out exactly where you are, then we want to go into the implementation, or step 2, and implement a strategy to maximize guaranteed income. Because remember, in order to retire, you have to have a paycheck. That has to be a guaranteed paycheck. I don't just want a paycheck. I want one that's going to keep up with inflation and taxes out beyond my life expectancy. Now, my essentials are $5,000 a month, but my discretionary is $2,000 a month. So I'm banking $2,000 a month right now. I'm bringing in $7,000. I got to have $5,000 to live, and I'm banking $2,000. That's discretionary income. But when I get in retirement, will I be banking that money, or will I need that money to live the lifestyle I've become accustomed to? In other words, do you want to work on the golf course, or do you want to play on the golf course? Do you want to live in retirement, or do you want to exist in retirement? Time magazine says that securing at least a base level of lifetime income should be every retiree's priority, at least if they want to live happily ever after. Now, I like to liken this to this road. Now, if you've ever been to Southern California, you've been to Death Valley, you would know this road, all right? And we had some friends that came out, and they were going out to Death Valley, and they're cruising out there, and you come to this road, and there's a sign. And the sign says, next gas, 100 miles. Now, they didn't know this, okay? And they hadn't filled up their car before they went there, and it's like 120 degrees outside, and they're turning off the air conditioning, and they're coasting down the roads, and they're praying that they have enough gas that they get all the way out to the next gas station before they run out of gas. Well, see, this is a lot like retirement. People go into it praying that they have enough put away to get them out to their life expectancy. Folks, that's not what I said. I said get out beyond yours and your spouse's life expectancy. To get all the way out to the end, not to get halfway there and get stranded in the desert. So if I came to you and said to you today, what would it look like if you had to take a 20-year vacation today? Could you afford that? Is your vacation going to be paid or is it going to be not paid? You see, the average length for a male retiring at age 65 is going to be in retirement for at least 18 years. A female is going to be 20 years, and a married couple, one of them is going to make at least 24 years. And in many cases, they're going to make much further beyond that. People are getting older and older every single day. So we have three sources of guaranteed income. The first one we have, if we're lucky enough to have one, is we have a pension. Now, that pension may have a COLA, it may not have a COLA, it may have survivorship, but we have a pension. But one of the biggest concerns, if you have a pension, is that pension actually well funded? You see, not all of the pensions in America are well funded, and as you look at this chart right here, the funding ratio of the public pensions, you can see that states like Illinois, Kentucky, these types of places, even Colorado, are not funded as much as they need to be. And actually, none of those pensions that you see up there, except for maybe South Dakota, is at 97%, but pretty much all the rest of them are much lower than what they would actually need to make it all the way out on all the lives that they have to cover. So next comes our Social Security. This is also a guaranteed income. And how we take our Social Security and when we take our Social Security is a very, very important thing. As we get towards the end here, I'm going to offer you the opportunity to get together, and I will do an in-depth MRI, in-depth plan for you, showing you exactly when is the best time to take your Social Security. Is your system working or not? Is your system going to run out of money? You know, are you doing the right thing? Are you planning your retirement or are you planning the government's? Now, Social Security, the greatest thing about Social Security is that if you wait to take your Social Security, in most cases, this is probably the best way to happen, your Social Security is going to grow by 8% every single year you wait. And there's a very, very important number, which is called your PIA, or your primary insurance amount, that happens at your FRA, which is your full retirement age, which for most of you out there is going to be somewhere between 66 and 67. A lot of you, it's going to be 67. Some might have already reached that. But up to your full retirement age, if you just wait every year, it's increasing by 8%. Folks, there's nothing out there on the market today that has a guaranteed 8% increase every single month or every single year that you wait. So in most cases, in a married couple, at least one of them should be waiting till 70. Now, don't walk out of here and go, oh, he said this, because I didn't say that. What I said is when we get together, I will put you in a very sophisticated software that will tell you when the best time is for the two of you to take your Social Security, or if you're single, when the best time is it for you to take your Social Security. Now, once again, it increases by 8% every single year. Now, in addition to that, Social Security has a cost of living raise, or a COLA, on it, and that varies. Some years it's zero, some years it's higher. It's all dependent on inflation. However, but the interesting part about that is when they're calculating the inflation, they're not calculating the inflation based on actual inflationary numbers. They're using something called the CPI. And the sad part about that is the three things that they don't factor into the CPI is food, energy, and health. Folks, what do you spend your money on? Food, energy, and health. So why is it that the government is lying about what actual inflation is? Well, the bottom line is they're broke and they can't afford to actually pay what the true increases are that or would need to be to keep up with inflation. So, Social Security benefits are not intended to be your only income source when retiring. On an average, Social Security will replace 40% of your annual pre-retirement income. You will need other savings, investments, pensions, and retirement accounts to live comfortably when you retire. Now, actually, believe it or not, this is actually on your Social Security statements. The other thing that they've been telling you on Social Security is that by the year 2033, if some serious changes aren't made, they're going to have to make some serious changes to Social Security, which includes some serious reductions to Social Security. So Social Security, while it's there, is a pretty good thing. The only other form of guaranteed income, now you could argue that rentals were a guaranteed form of income, but the only other guaranteed form of income would be an annuity. And annuities come in different fashions. They come in fixed, variable, and indexed. We're not here to learn about annuities. We're just here to understand that the one thing that an annuity can do is it can provide you with an income stream that you can't outlive. Even when you run out of money, you don't run out of income. And for most of you out there, you should probably be using an annuity in your portfolio for part of your income. Remember, you're no longer in the accumulation game. You're now in the distribution game. And in the distribution game, the game is played very differently. It is no longer about the return on your money. It's about the return of your money. And it is more important to avoid the losses than it is to pick the winners at that point. Now, picking the right annuity, that can be a chore in itself. An annuity, what most people believe an annuity is that I give my money to the insurance company and they give me a guaranteed stream of income for a period of time. Well, that's actually not true. That's called annuitization. So what happens with an annuity is it's a savings account with an insurance company as opposed to a savings account with a bank. Now, who has more money, insurance companies or banks? And the reality of the matter is, it's insurance companies. As a matter of fact, banks keep 25% of all their tier one liquid assets inside of insurance companies. Surprising, isn't it? Now, one of the things that an annuity can do, if you pick the right annuity, and there are a lot of them out there, lots of bells and whistles, and be sure not to follow bright and shiny objects and do the mathematics. But what can happen with an annuity, it can't get you that 8% guaranteed increase, but you can get increases as high as 6 or 7 over that period of time. But remember, if they're giving you something somewhere, they're taking something from you somewhere else. You can also get bonuses and roll-up rates and all kinds of other things, but we need to do the math before you make a decision on which is the correct one for you and for your family. They can also be inflation protection. Most are not. So most have a level payout going forward. There are a few out on the market that have increasing, and there's really only one that I know of that has an increasing out over lifetime. But remember, once again, if they give you something somewhere, they take something from you somewhere else. Now, I hear all the time that annuities are terrible things. You shouldn't fish your investments. No one should ever buy an annuity, et cetera, et cetera. You know, folks, that's like saying everyone should drive a white Prius. For God's sakes, like, I don't want to ever drive a Prius, and sorry for those of you that do, but maybe I want a pickup truck, I want a Porsche, I want something that's fast, I want something that's slow, I want something that maybe gets better gas mileage, I want something that's 100% electric, I don't know. But not everybody needs a white Prius. And so what they always say is, they say, well, these annuities are so expensive. What if I told you there were annuities out there with zero fees? Absolutely none, okay? But every one of them provides you with principal protection, guaranteed lifetime income, and opportunities for increase. What if I told you there are annuities out there today that would outperform any CD on the market? And in many cases, outperform the market. All without the risk. But there's always a trade-off. So where there's good, there's bad. The first thing to do is understand the difference between the two. If you really want to know how annuities work, go out to our website at www.yoursafemoneypeople.com and go take the course on annuities. We have other courses out there on Roth conversions and life insurance, but go take the course on the annuities. You'll know more about most people that sell this stuff, and that's a good place to be before you start buying it from somebody so that you really have a good understanding about which one's going to be best for you. So we've protected our money, okay? We want to now we want to minimize or eliminate our tax risk, okay? Now, first thing you got to understand is the highest income taxes have ever been in the United States is 94% since the inception of the temporary income tax and the establishment of the IRS in 1913. Our average over that time has been 57.5%. Currently, we're sitting at 37%. Now, if that's all you knew, that would be one thing. But we have a national debt of $36 trillion with a T, an unfunded deficit for Social Security, Medicare, and prescription drugs of $227 trillion. We're better than $263 trillion upside down with a $5 trillion budget. And we spent $2 trillion more than we brought in. I don't know. What do you think? You think taxes will be lower, higher, or the same in the future? Now, they told you you should put your money inside of a tax-deferred account because you're going to grow on money you would have otherwise paid in taxes. And in the end, you're going to have more money because you're going to be in a lower tax bracket. Well, is that true? Because see, when you get out to retirement, you got rid of your 3 largest tax write-offs. You paid off your house, which not a good reason to get a mortgage, by the way, because they could take that away anyway, which pretty much they did with the Trump tax laws. They made the standard deduction on taxes so high that most people don't itemize. But the second thing you did is you kicked the kids out. Not a bad deal. And even if you didn't kick the kids out, they're still living with you. You can't use them as an exemption. And you're no longer contributing to these qualified accounts, which are giving you a huge tax deduction, but you still need the amount of money that you were living on before. This is the big fallacy. Everybody believes they're going to get there. They're not going to pay any taxes. Well, reality is we're going to be paying taxes because we're paying taxes on our known incomes, which are coming from where? They're coming from Social Security, taxable, pension, taxable, rentals, taxable, 401ks, taxable. And suddenly, not only are they in the same tax bracket, frequently they're in a higher one. And on top of that, what happens is one of you dies. And when one of you dies, you're no longer filing joint, you're now filing single. So we got rid of these 3. Now it's important to understand there are really only 3 ways to grow our money. We can grow our money in a tax as we go bucket, a tax deferred bucket, and a tax free bucket. Now, the reality of this matter is the worst way to grow our money is in a tax as you go. We get a 1099 on it every day. Now, they told us if we put our money in a tax deferred account, we would grow on money we would have otherwise paid in taxes. In the end, we'd have more money because we'd be in a lower tax bracket. Now, if that in fact turns out to be true, if you could put it away today at a 24% top marginal tax bracket and take it out at any top marginal tax bracket of less than 24%, they were actually right. But if it turns out that you have to take it out at 24%, it's the exact same number. If you take it out at a higher number than that, you lose. So what do you think is going to happen to taxes in the future? Lower, higher, or same? So the next best way to grow your money is tax-free. Now, whether tax-free is better than tax-deferred is determined by your exit strategy. So when it comes time to take it out, will you be in a lower tax bracket? And there are really only 3 ways to grow your money tax-free. Now, 529 plans, they're up there, but that reality is that's not one of the ways because that's just for education. So you could grow it tax-free inside of a Roth IRA, muni bonds, and believe it or not, properly maximum funded life insurance policy under TEFRA, DEFRA, and TAMRA, which is one of the strongest ways to build your money for your future. But the bottom line here, folks, is in order to make any one of these things work, you have to be proactive and not reactive. And up to this point, you've probably been very reactive. Now, believe it or not, taxes are on sale. Right now, today, taxes are on sale. And that sale ends on 12/31 of 2025. So a Roth IRA is a wonderful tool, and many of you should be considering maximizing your tax bracket this year to get you to the top of whatever your highest tax bracket ever is going to be, okay, or lowest rather, and get your money over into tax-free so you don't have to worry about this going forward. Now, in addition to that, if you've managed to maximize your Roth IRA through contributions and or conversions, and you still have more money, you could be using properly maximum funded index universal life or whole life to fund your future. And not only your future, but your children's. Now, Ed Slott says the single biggest benefit of tax code is the tax exemption for life insurance. I can assure you that of everybody I've ever met in my life, their most underutilized asset was their insurability. And the biggest problem is they didn't understand it. And their stockbroker definitely didn't understand it, financial planner, and most of their insurance agents don't understand it. So you've really got to have a background in the distribution mode of your money, which is the mode where you're moving to. Now, we've talked about growing the surplus assets. Now it gets down to managing this money. And what happens in managing this money is we have to be doing this on an annual basis and going through here and planning it. You know when this is all over, folks? The day they stick you in the ground, not 1 second beforehand. And most people are emotional investors. So what happens is the market's going up, they're buying. Okay? The market's going down, they're selling. Market's going up, they're buying. Market's going down, they're selling. When in fact, they should be doing the exact opposite. When the market's going down, they should be buying. But yet, most people buy when the market's at the high and sell when the market's at the low. And they don't do very well as a result of that. And they don't make the types of averages that they can because they simply don't have the gumption to put up with that. What I can tell you is the stock market's going to go up, it's going to go down, and it's going to continue to do that forever. There's going to be bull markets and bear markets. The problem is not whether the stock market's going to go up or down. The problem is whether the market's going to go down during your retirement. See, if you have $1 million over here, and what happens is that $1 million, let's say that the stock market's over here, and you need to take out $60,000 a year. So make 6%, life is good, 6% life is good. In 1 year, just one, the market loses 20%. Well, you're not at $800,000. You see, you're still going to take this 60. So you're down at 740, and you're not going to recover from that. Yet when you were in the accumulation stage of your life and the market was going up and down, it was no big deal because you had a paycheck. You didn't have to access that money. And so what happened was you just waited for it to come back. But as you move into this distribution, you need a plan. Now, if you look at the average market returns on the S&P 500 over 30 years, it's 10.16%. Over the last 20, it's 7.68. Last 10, 6.95. In the last 12 months, 11.96. Now, this was as of 2017. But if we looked in the last 12 months for us, okay, you're actually still up, believe it or not. Even with the turmoil that we had between Trump coming into office and where we're sitting at today. Now, the question, as I said, is not if the stock market's going to go down. The question is how many times they're going to go down in your lifetime. Now, the reality of this whole picture here is it's a lot like your house. Your financial house is much like your house. You walk into your house and you see these beautiful walls and curtains and rugs and floors that you've put in, and you think about what a wonderful place you have. It's a lot like your portfolio. You see your ETFs and your stocks and your mutual funds and your bonds, and you think and the dividends you're making and all this wonderful stuff. But what people lose sight of is they lose sight of what holds their house up. What holds their house up is that foundation. It's that cold, gray piece of cement that holds it up. In your portfolio, it has a foundation too. And that foundation is the income. It's that guaranteed stream of income that you can't outlive no matter how long you live. So what we discussed today as we discussed your current retirement savings model is broken. The idea of having a pension as your base and then having the money you saved up here at the top of the pinnacle is totally flipped. It's now about the money you saved, and if you're lucky enough, you have a pension. The only way for a successful retirement is through an income plan that protects you from the 4 key risks: longevity, stock market, income taxes, and inflation. The retirement income framework, a 5-step roadmap that helps you make your money last longer in retirement. Now, folks, I fly all the time. I'm on airplanes on a regular basis. And I can tell you that if I come in onto a plane, I'm sitting on the plane, the pilot comes on and says, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for flying United Airlines. We know you have a choice of airlines. And the co-pilot and I have been doing some calculations today. And what we found is that we've got about an 85% chance of making it to our location. I don't know about you, but I'm getting off the damn plane. I'm getting off the plane immediately. And folks, when you talk to this planner, stockbroker, and you say, how much money can I take out of my account and make sure that I don't run out of money? They're going to use something called the 4% rule. They're going to say if you take 4% every single year, you have an 85% chance of making it out to at least your life expectancy. I don't want an 85% chance. I want a 100% chance. I want a 100% chance that not only am I going to make it to my life expectancy, I'm going to make it out beyond my life expectancy. And if I live to be 120 years old, I'm still going to have an income coming in. And then I want to pass my money on in the most tax-favorable way possible to my children. Now, I want to thank you for your time, and I want you to encourage you. Connect with us on LinkedIn. Subscribe here to the YouTube channel. Put some comments in below. And tell us about, what did you think about this? Do you have a plan? Are you running at this haphazardly, hoping it's going to all work out? Or is it time for you to get a plan? It doesn't take much to do it. Simply schedule a time to get together with us. You can go into our calendar, get together, and I'll do an in-depth look for you and show you, without a bunch of sales and all that other stuff, I'll show you whether your plan is working or not. I'll show you whether you should be putting it in tax-deferred, tax-free. I'll show you whether you're going to live the lifestyle you become accustomed to, adjusted for taxes and inflation, out beyond yours and your spouse's life expectancy, and then pass your money on the most tax-favorable way possible. So remember, to live like you're going to die tomorrow and plan like you're going to live forever, because you just might. Keep smiling, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.